What was the biggest moment that you kind of said, hey, I'm ready to bet on myself? And what did that take out of you?
I think I took that risk when I was quite young. As soon as I made that move to England, I kind of sacrificed everything for swimming.
What do you truly have to give up during that time?
In terms of sacrifice, you have to give up a lot. You know, I'd gotten to that point where I was quick enough to win most races if I did it right, but my mind wouldn't let me win.
When during that week of competition for the championship on that 50, like what was your mindset leading up into that week?
I'm not standing there trying to beat these other guys. I'm standing there wanting to perform the best race that I can because I love the sport.
Let's talk about like battling the ego a little bit. How do you manage that, you know, in your profession?
It became, you know, very much an obsession. Like I had to do it. I had to go through this. I had to become the best in the world.
Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Club podcast. I'm Sean Freitas, and today we've got Olympic silver medalist and one of the most fearsome 50-meter racers on the planet, Ben Proud. He's stacked world, European, and Commonwealth titles, owns the British records in the 50 free and the 50 fly, and pulled off the rare triple, European, world, and Commonwealth crowns all in the same year. Translation: when the moment gets short and sharp, this man delivers. Ben, thank you so much for being on here, man.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
I think I call you the quiet sniper killer. Okay, so Kuala Lumpur origins and then getting into your competitive DNA. So you grew up in Malaysia, living in and around water before swimming.
Yeah.
I think you said you were 5 when you first swam.
Yeah. I mean, in Malaysia, like, there's just such a big culture around being around the water.
Yes.
For example, my brother was a wakeboarder. Like, we used to go scuba diving, snorkeling from a young age. And so, like, yeah, just living in and around the water was just common. Like, my parents had me swimming, you know, without armbands before my second birthday. Just
And
kind
then
of throw me in.
I know when you turned like 15 or 16, like what happened in that environment that like led to the movement, the risk, and then, you know, actually starting your swimming career?
Yeah, I mean, so that was, you know, I think, you know, when I was probably about 13, I was thinking about stepping away from swimming entirely because, you know, I just saw no point in continuing. I was getting towards that kind of rebellious teenage years and just wanting to, you know, have fun and be with my friends and all these things. And it was just one training session when I was about 15. Nobody turned up to training apart from me and one other friend, and the coach was there. And so he went through the session and you know, had a good one. And by the end of it, he kind of turned around and said, like, look, Ben, you've got some talent. If you come and train with me more, like, we can do something quite special. And me being a very shy, introverted, awkward 15-year-old was like, okay, let's give it a go. And yeah, so I just started training with him, and he had a very, very unique philosophy, one which I've kind of carried throughout my career. Very precise, you know, cut out all the bullshit type thing, just you know, train to race. And I had these real significant gains at quite a young age, and you know, between that year when I was 16, won the national championships in Malaysia, which was, you know, completely unexpected. And then from there, I remember driving home with my mum and, you know, thinking like, you know, I might make a career out of this. So that was the kind of bulk of the story. I think the big thing is, like, you know, I use the analogy, like, my coach gave me this ball and I caught it and ran with it.
Yes.
I think I was, you know, searching for something in my life that, you know, I didn't know where I was going to find it. You know, my parents went through quite a lengthy divorce. You know, I was very, very awkward as a teenager. I was quite a late bloomer on all these things. So I think I was just trying to find, you know, what is Ben Proud? Like, who is he? And
yeah, that was actually going to be my second question. So like, divorce, discomfort, and then drive. So you said your parents went through a long, heavy divorce and it lit a fuse. Can you walk me through how you turned that pain into the precision, and what did you build around that, like your routine, your standard, and your boundaries?
Yeah. I think many kids' parents will go through divorce. It's one of those things, but you know, there's always like repercussions from that. And because I was the younger brother, you know, I've got older brother who, you know, I love. He's my rock in my family. I was a sensitive one, you know, so I took everything to heart. And so I think I was always trying to, you know, be rebellious, like, you know, sneak out, do things that I'm not supposed to do, you know, claiming attention in some ways. So I can't put my finger on it entirely, but I know something about that experience was like pushing me to do something different. Like I wanted the attention, I wanted something from swimming. I probably draw on the fact as well that, I watched, a friend told me to watch The Secret, about the law of attraction and manifestation. And I kind of took that in quite deeply as well. And so I think a combination of so much going on in my life as a young teenager, just kind of accumulated in this kind of like desire to, fuck it, I'm just gonna get my head down and be the best I can be in one industry. And I kind of left home and never turned back.
I about 2.5 years ago, I went through a divorce. I was with my ex-wife for 10 years, and we started the company together. And that was probably the most challenging time frame that I've ever gone through. First, it was the separation that was challenging. Then it was like getting the understanding of why that this would happen.
Yeah.
And then the rediscovering phase of like finding yourself per se.
Yeah.
So when I was reading that, I'm like, man, it really hit home to me, because I do think as well, going through that phase, something just got unlocked inside of me. Like it almost brought out, like it made me the type of person that I wanted to be. But it always felt like I was like one shield away from that person. Like I could see myself through the glass mirror, but I could never go and touch it. I couldn't find that person. And it taught me how to be resilient. It taught me how to be truthful. It taught me how to have grit. And I think it gave me the tenacity in order to execute the next chapter, of my life. So at that time, that one moment, I felt like, man, this is the worst that I've ever felt in my whole life. And if I look, then fast forward till now, I'm so appreciative of actually going through that challenging time, because I feel like it shaped me into what I need for myself for the next chapter. I'm going to be a dad for the first time in March. I've got an amazing supportive partner. In business, I'm really trying to get to that next stage of growth. That's just, everything's uncomfortable, but I don't know if I'd be able to handle it if I didn't go through that challenging, time. I can actually sit on, like, I'm proud of the person that I am now, and I still operate out of fear, but I'm getting much better at understanding that with my purpose is so strong that you're bound to be successful. But there was something. I almost think that sometimes the universe has to strike you and it has to hurt you so bad in order to like wake something up, right? Because if not, you kind of just tolerate certain things in your life. Yeah. But there'll be this one instance where it's like, no, we're just going to completely stop you in your tracks because you have to reposition yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like I feel like I've been through a very, very similar experience in the more recent years. I think going through COVID was for me, it was such a tough time. And maybe we can touch on it later, but like I just remember hitting this one place where, like, to me it was rock bottom. From my life experience, that was the worst I've been. But it was as if someone shattered this piece of glass that was engulfing me, and for the first time in my life, I had this fresh air, and I was like, fuck, the only way I can go is up from here. And that kind of ultimately led me on to this series of like 4 years where I've just kind of been excelling and getting better and better, and not out of anything negative, but it's just like, you go through that experience once and you're like, I can do it. It's like, you start to understand the peaks and troughs of life a bit better, and I feel like having those experiences, like, they're really tough at the time, but you look back at it and you're like, fuck, that's a beautiful journey. Yeah,
and I'm glad you said, because it's okay. You learn the lesson and the blessing, and it's not that you want to go through more troubling times, but like your brain knows that, okay, you've been through something so traumatic before. Now you can get through it. So when you have to go through something again, you just know that, I didn't know if it was going to take one month, or in my case, it took over 800 days to solve my separation. And man, was there a lot of learning lessons there. So now I know to never put a time frame for when you need to handle something, or how long it's going to take you to get somewhere.
Yeah, because as soon as you put a time limit on it, there becomes this desperation or this shortfall in that you're not there yet. Whereas I think I'm assuming when you were going through this, your mind was probably focused on exactly what needed to be done at the time.
Yes.
And when you're there, that's when you're in this this kind of like creative phase of like you change your identity, become who you want to be, and that's an incredible place to be.
Absolutely. Anyone listening, I hope that take what we're saying to heart, because it definitely.
I will say in that though, it's like until you go through an experience, like you can't learn from it. You can't read books or watch movies about it. Like you have to just go through it.
I would say there was nothing but the actual problem and challenge I went through that could have actually prepared me for the problem and the challenge that I was going through. And I look at life that way now. I'm like, okay, I'm just I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It may not be good, it may not be bad, but I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to take everything that I've got in front of me and just continue to get through it. So you left home at 16 and 17 and kind of went to bet on yourself. You left for the UK as a teenager, then to Plymouth, then pro-life in Turkey. Yeah. What was the biggest moment that you kind of said, hey, I'm ready to bet on myself, and what did that take out of you?
I think I took that risk when I was quite young. As soon as I made that move to England, I kind of sacrificed everything for swimming. And, that was kind of like academics, studies, life, family, friends, like all these social things, like everything was put aside purely for swimming. And it became, very much an obsession. Like I had to do it. I had to go through this. I had to become the best in the world because that was just the only real option. And, I don't see that as a very healthy stage, but, in this kind of performance life, nothing's really healthy. And so that kind of drove me to just like, obsess and dig deep into this world of swimming. And, and so I'd say from a very early age, I was highly committed to do this. But it took me a while to kind of realize like the reality of what this is as a sport, and even though I was getting better physically and being able to swim faster times, I was never able to achieve the kind of results in that young age because I was just immature. I hadn't had that life experience. And I remember before my first ever world title, I was at the point I was basically begging to something that I would finally get that win or that medal, because I'd given up so much in life for this, and it just hadn't come. And that was actually when I was in Turkey, surrounded by like these amazing professional athletes who have achieved so much, and I was just there like, I'm a quick swimmer, but I've not done anything in my career. And so that was kind of like, that was probably the middle of where I was in my career. Like that was the start of what was to come. I think I can kind of break my career into 3 points.
Yeah,
like,
please.
The first stage was that growth stage of like just pure obsession, just getting into sport, trying to become an adult, and physically, mentally. The second stage was, I'd gotten to that point where I was quick enough to win most races if I did it right, but my mind wouldn't let me win. I was too obsessive. I was too controlling over these races, and when I'd get to the finals, I'd always underperform, just not do the justice that I kind of like that I put into the pool, and I wouldn't do what I was supposed to do. And ultimately, it came with a couple of years of painful swims, like ones that I felt like I underperformed. And then to the point where, taught them, hitting rock bottom and coming out of that, I kind of realized I don't like racing, but I love performing. I love this craft. I love the 50 freestyle. I love doing what I want to do. And I want to stand on the block in the final and just, take a breath and be like, fuck yeah, this is cool. This is why I'm here. And so ever since then, that was probably 2022 when I started to have that feeling. And so since then, it's been much more of like an enjoyment. Like I don't need to swim anymore. Like I swim because I love it and I love this craft, and I feel like that's the best stage. And now sitting here in Enhanced with X amount of years ahead of me, this feels good. Like I still feel like I'm in my prime.
Yeah, the two things. So, oftentimes, obviously, people can see the physical preparation that's needed for for sports, professional sports, especially Olympic sports. Like, it's such a time-consuming phrase, and we know that it's physical. You show up there. Explain to people the difficulty of becoming mentally prepared and your mental health as you're striving to be, not just a professional athlete, but the best in the world. Like, what do you truly have to give up during that time?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sacrifices, you have to give up a lot. Like, you can't live a normal life. I think for a person to be happy, you have to find equilibrium in your life with socializing, with yourself, with activities. Like, you have to find equilibrium to be happy. As an athlete, you can't settle for a balance, because you have to bring this one side out of you, this competitive, this drive, this natural side. Now it's so far out of whack that you go through certain challenges, and so you give up time with your family, time with friends, socializing, but you also give up a lot in terms of like just being normal. So that is one thing, but I think the mind took much longer to train to get to the right place where I was able to perform, much longer than it took my body to. And I've always had this quite deep fascination with the mind being the leading factor of everything I do, which I can probably bring that back to this kind of law of attraction method that I was introduced to when I was 16. All about manifesting everything you want into your life, and the whole process of visualization, and like believing you have it, and believing that you are this person. And so as a 17-year-old, I was probably quite naive to think that I was soon to be the best in the world, but I had that belief in me, and I did all the right things in terms of like goal setting, visualization, and making sure that my mind was in that place where I was the best. I've gone in and out of that a long time, but I think what I've realized is all those things that you associate with, manifesting and law of attraction, they're just great things to do. Like, those things, they lead you to focus and be disciplined and do the right things and make the right decisions. And I think more importantly, it makes you be very much like 100% accountable for yourself. So from a young age, I fully believe that everything that happened to me in my life, I did to myself. So that immediately took out any sort of excuse. Like, if I don't perform, it's not because of this went wrong or something happened here. It was very simply my mind wasn't in the right place, or wasn't doing the right things that it needed to do to get those performances. And so I feel like that helped me to navigate this kind of life, like highs and lows, and good and bad, to the point where things clicked and my mind developed to the point where I could perform. So yeah, I was quite lucky that I had this mindset at a young age that kind of navigated through this, because it's it's tough. When you fail at something, it's easy to find an excuse and blame something and not learn from it. And for me, it was very much, when something bad happened, it was like, how quickly can you get back to the point where you're motivated again and you want to do better?
Yeah.
You learn from this.
I don't necessarily like the fact that I didn't do something well, or I failed at something now, but I do use it as a motivation to be like, what can I do to be better? And I really like being able to do that. And, people that are close around me, they're like, man, we like how you handle, adversity. I was like, well, I said, nothing can be great if you don't fail at first, because no one's going to get everything perfect right out of the gate, but I do feel like, you really can measure someone's character with how they fix things when something goes wrong, like, I don't have control of the world, right? Especially in business. Like, I'm so meticulous, I'm so particular, but that's me.
Yeah.
And when you have 40 people working for you, then they're just little fractions of you, right? They're still their own person. They can still make mistakes as well. So it's just like, okay, how do I become the best leader possible to get them to think the way that I do, and take into consideration the things that they do well. And it's an interesting learning experience that I'm getting, being a leader and learning how to communicate and kind of leading by example. And I quite enjoy it. It's just not like probably 80% of my day now is spent dealing with problems, finding solutions for it. But I'm really enjoying it because I can see like how much of an impact it has from being able to delegate, finding solutions to problems. And it's a fascinating learning experience that you can't get from school, from a book. Like these are like real life things in real time that you have to go through.
Yeah. What I would say is like, because it's my first month at Project Wellbeing, it's the facilities are out of this world, but I think the main thing is the people that work here. And if what you're talking about, you have this whole team of 40 people that work for you. If you react to something in a negative way or take like 2 weeks to kind of like come back around to it, or you don't handle it the right way, then you don't build those characteristics in the people around you as well. And so I think that's probably attributed to you and the way you conduct yourself, to the fact that you got such good people here, like really good quality people that work here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think we have some amazing people. It's interesting. Like I used to think that like, oh, someone left me, right? But really, subconsciously, you're kind of pushing people out of your orbit that maybe don't quite fit the mission. And I was looking at it from a different lens, and now I understand like you're going to push people away that maybe they're going to help you to a certain extent, but then to get to the next level, they may not be the right person. Doesn't mean that they're bad, but they just might not be the right person to get up into the next level. And I think that we've got some amazing people that are missionaries that believe in the vision and the mission that's trying to be executed. Because at this level, it's like fully depending on people to carry out your vision. Because one person can only do so much. And I'm really liking this process. It's very interesting. It's a daily adjustment.
Yeah, and it's tough as well because I see swimming as like you're running your own business, like, but the business is my body and mind. So like I'm this kind of control freak that I need everything to go the right way. So I'd be terrified to be running so many people and like not having full control. Yeah,
I'm trying to get better at that. And what's interesting is having a baby. I'm like, like my house is absolutely pristine. I'm like, oh well, shit, the baby's gonna put stuff here and stuff's gonna get misplaced. I'm like, this is the real first test. In order just to break away from that mold of like needing to have everything perfect. In my mind, I always think that like something broke. Oh shit! Now people think I'm a failure. But that's just my mind playing tricks on me like that. Like most people don't even know when anything's wrong because it's so minute. But my brain cares about it at such a deep level that I never want to feel like I'm letting someone down. So I'm just always trying to look out for things that could become a potential problem. So let's talk about the cognitive edge and that manifestation that you have in that purposeful practice. So you're vocal about the cognitive side, mental application. Give me an exact like mental reps when you when during that week of competition for the championship on that 50. Like what was your mindset leading up into that week?
Yeah, I mean, these start months out. I've gone through different phases of like I used to set my goals and basically understand where I was going to be racing, what I was going to be doing, and what I'm aiming for, and I would set that like 10 months in advance. And I would almost like every day force of habit, put my headphones in, listen to music, visualize this race, because I know what pool I'm going to be. I've been to most pools. I want to see how it goes and have that kind of positive feeling of like the race goes the way I want it. And you quickly learn that your mind is this kind of like, it's this wild horse you have to like capture and tame it, because you plan for your thoughts to go one way, but in reality, it throws tricks in you, like something goes wrong and like, it's just you in control of its mind, but
it's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of like, how many repetitions can you go through about, making sure that the majority of them were towards the side of success or like of it going well. And so I used to do it a lot heavily, like months out, and that's changed over the years because having that taxation on you, like everyday exhaustion is quite tough. Sometimes it's good just to let go and not mind. But it's kind of always been one of these things that I firmly believed mentally when I got to the block that no one had done more work than me cognitively than myself. And that stemmed from when I was younger. I was a bit underdeveloped as a teenager, one of the smaller kids in my year. And when I decided I was going to be a swimmer, I knew I wasn't going to be one of these kind of like, you know, testosterone fuel, like big slappy guys who's angry and just wants to race. I wanted to be a bit more on the flip side of, you know, a bit more calm, measured, composed, and just let things happen. And that's kind of why this performance-based swimming is much more enjoyable for me, because I'm not standing there trying to beat these other guys. I'm standing there wanting to perform the best race that I can because I love the sport. And so, yeah, I feel like all these things kind of navigated me towards this kind of like mental, you know, frontal lobe type of way of thinking about my sport. So yeah, I just kind of firmly believe that if you let your mind lead you the right way, like your body's going to follow. And suddenly, if you get these things down, like the mental side of it, everything else is so simple. It's simple. It's easy. You just have to just tick the box and do it.
That's like the stuff you got to write down, because like it's amazing how like one thought in your mind could take you here.
Yeah.
Or it can take you there. You know, it really is fascinating.
Yeah, and that comes back to the accountability factor. Like, if my mind believes I'm going to go to this competition and, you know, something's not going to go right and I'm not going to perform, that's what's going to happen. When in fact, like, you have to, and I went through this a lot, it's this period between semi-finals and finals where you can't help, your mind is just running wild. It's just running about these thoughts because your body is in complete fight or flight. It's anxious, it's, you know, a lot on the line in these situations. And I always found it a mental battle, like, which way do you go? Do you close your eyes and see the race going badly because the anxiety is kicking in, or do you close your eyes and see it going better because you're a bit more calm and confident? And it was very much an active pursuit to always make it this way. You know, if I let my mind just go, it would fall to the anxious side because that's naturally how I'm inclined. But it was always this constant effort to make it more positive. So yeah, I'd say I'm like a optimistic person, but very optimistic about the future, very pessimistic about the current situation.
Yeah,
which kind of leads me towards that. Yeah.
So let's talk about your journey with Enhanced Games.
Yeah.
You know, how did you get started with Enhanced Games? Give me a little bit of background.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about it first when Magnussen, you know, had that quote that he's going to juice to the gills and break the world record. And you know, to me, my first reaction was like, you know, how can they bring this money into sport for an event that doesn't even exist now when we're fighting over for like pennies? Forgot about it for a while, and then about a year later, I was doing this drug test at home. The guys came at 6 a.m, and I was waiting 2 hours to do this because I'd just gone to the bathroom in the night. And finally gave my sample and did everything. They left, and then my girlfriend came out and was like, Christian's just broken the world record. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, they can't get any worse. And then looked into it a bit more, realized he actually joined the Enhanced Games, and what Christian did was he split my world of swimming into two. Well, he split the world of 50 freestyle into two. So you could now potentially be the fastest or the world record holder, but not the fastest man on water. Or you can be the fastest man in water, which is what Christian is, but not the world record holder. And so divided the domain into two. And I had to think about, you know, what is it that I really want out of this? And for me, it was, you know, I was never really chasing the medals. And like, I think the world record is something that I would have absolutely loved to do. But for me now, it's more about this kind of pursuit of the skill and the sport. And the monetary side of it is massive as well. But you know, to be able to come into this and just do what I love, which is swimming the 50 freestyle, was a big thing. So yeah, that was the day, and it took me a few weeks to kind of get my head around it. And then, yeah, it was quite a quick turnaround from receiving a contract to signing it to making the announcement, and now being out here in Vegas and building the foundations.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you explain? You know, I can't remember when I first was talking to Rick and everyone at Enhanced Games, but I find that it's incredible that they would give you guys these type of resources. That in all honesty, most athletes find me because they've been injured a whole bunch of times, and they're like, oh man, I wish I could have done this and this in my career. And you know, with this, it fits my mission is to really enhance, health and human performance and optimize a human being. And I'm getting a chance to like give you guys my entire, program and protocol. Can you kind of touch on that and what your experience has been from like the first day that you guys got here?
Yeah, I mean, so like we've kind of had the full MOT in terms of like getting the body checked and like working with both people. And I think the big thing for me is like we come here and suddenly the gym is kitted out with state-of-the-art things. Like, we had one Kaiser machine in my old gym and we were proud to have that. You come here and you got so much more. So like resource-wise, you're providing us with everything we could do. Like if you have an idea about an exercise, we'll be able to do it. But then like the recovery side of it as well. Like I was never big into recovery purely because, I didn't really have the resources to go out there and use it consistently to get the effects. Whereas now we train in the morning, come here and we've got access to whatever we want. Might be different one day is like, hyperbaric chamber in the morning and then sauna in the evening. But it's just made me realize how much better sport could be. Because I've gone through the whole traditional swimming and resources there are really lacking. And if we applied those much earlier, like, what's the potential upside for the sport? And so, I mean, I have to say, like, this is the most state-of-the-art place I've ever seen. Like, in all honesty, like, I've not seen a place that has all this and more. So I'm hoping this kind of like, this is a leading example of what could be done throughout all sports.
Yes.
In terms of like just giving people who sacrifice their life and their well-being for a sport or an event or a team to be able to better themselves, because and we're seeing a big advancement. Like we're seeing huge changes over the years, but like, not really in the same place all there. So
yeah, I don't know what Project Wabine and Enhanced Games relationship looks like in the future, but I'm truly excited to work with you guys. It's been amazing. And two, to see what these two entities can do together to really produce impact, and not just athletes, like but in the general population as well. Like it fits my mission of really is optimizing the human being. It's that simple.
Well, what's exciting is I've gone through my whole career, but I still feel like I'm stood at the base of the mountain, just looking up at what this potentially could become, and that's insane to think about. Like to think about the potential upside of what sport can be is so exciting. And
it's interesting now. It feels like you've got joy and love for swimming and aren't just doing it to be competitive. Like it's really it's really a piece of you now. So I think like the purpose is significantly different than when you probably first started in this next chapter in your career and what that develops into.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible what peace of mind can bring. When the financial side is done and resources is there, it lets you have complete freedom as to what you choose.
Yes.
And I think everyone in Enhanced, the team right now, are choosing to commit themselves to be the best version again.
No, I love that. Let's talk about like battling the ego a little bit. How do you manage that, in your profession? How do you, not just from ego from others and then your own ego? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, in the competitive field, like it's only natural that everyone here has an ego of some sort. Some of them is a bit louder than others. Some people like it's a bit more tame. But when you want to be the best at something, it's the ego that's bringing out of you. And for me, I was always trying to tame that side, because all I saw growing up was the people who let their ego get the better of them and who would be more vocal about it, saying like they're going to do this, they're going to do that. It's always them who fell short and ultimately didn't get as far in their career. And so I've always made it quite the point to like, just stay humble. Like you're only as good as what you've done. You can't be better than that. You can't be better because you said you want to win something or do a certain time. And it's kind of led from frustration from seeing that from others. And, I've always been the quiet person in swimming. I just kind of get my head down and do what I'm supposed to do. And you know, other people have gained more recognition just from saying they want to do something, and majority of them don't end up doing that. I absolutely love when someone is outspoken and can have this kind of like confidence and persona and say they're going to do something and then do it. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think you just said it because I was waiting to say.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between ego and confidence.
Yeah.
And sometimes, people's like, "Oh, you're egotistical." I'm just like, then you're not reading between the lines, because I am confident because I can produce the results that I say. And sometimes that makes people feel uncomfortable because maybe they can't do it or they can't see it. But I know when I'm confident at something, I'm going to be outspoken about it. Like when I say, "Hey, I think I'm one of the best therapist trainers, and now I own multiple companies in human performance," I'd consider myself at the top. But I remember what it took to get there. I'm humble about it, and now I'm understanding what it takes to stay there. That requires constant innovation. And I don't think that people understand that. They're not willing to dig down deep. What got me to the place I'm at now is not going to sustain me. I need to be better. I need to think more strategic. Like, I can't work harder, but I need to be more strategic. I need to be more innovative. I need to learn how to delegate and employ an even more powerful team around me. And now I'm understanding that now you align with other great companies. So you bring in two powerhouses and you align them together. And then I feel like the trajectory is much faster. I didn't think, my mind didn't think like that before. And quite honestly, it could only think in the accordance of four walls, because I had to take myself out and, take a bird's eye view, like, man, I'm thinking too small. I'm being too comfortable. And when I remove myself from that, it's like, wow, I can see the big vision now. I want to have the largest human performance and wellness company in the world, only so I can help as many people as possible, right? So that's the key. Like, oh, I want this for my ego. No, this gives me the tool to execute on the thing that I think I'm confident in. And I think that's really important. And I'm going to send you a 30-minute YouTube video, because I always do this when it happens. How to turn visualization into materialization, which I think is one of the most powerful concepts that exists in the world.
Well, that goes to the whole thing about you can think it, now go and do it. And like, that's sometimes, I think for me, that's actually the hard thing is seeing it, believing it, and then it's the action is to take it. Like, sometimes I fall short in that scope. But once you do, it's really easy. But kind of going back to the ego, and you touched on it earlier. So I had early success when I was 19. I got some international podiums, some wins, some really good times. And then the year after, I just remember in hindsight looking back, and I'm like, I was so complacent. Like, because I'd done one good thing, I thought everything was gonna come to me. I'd kind of done it. And that was ultimately a really bad year for me. I underperformed in both my races. And ever since then, I've kind of been chasing this okay, you do it, good, you step back, you recoup, and then you go for something else. Because ultimately, I wanted to finish my career and for no one to say that I failed. Because, I never said I was going to do certain things. I wanted my achievements to be, rock solid. What I've done, I never really spoke about it before. I had this kind of belief that, don't talk it before you do it. That was just the way I was, and it kind of worked for me. But I never wanted someone to say Ben didn't reach his full potential because he said he was going to do this and didn't. And so I think that kind of brings me a lot more comfort, especially now I'm retiring from that sport. I'm done. I'm never going back. It's nice to say what I've done, I've achieved, and no one can take that away from me.
Yeah. And, you touched on it a little bit. As, perception from the world, people think this is an Olympic athlete, so he should have Olympic athlete money. He should have Olympic athlete support, Olympic athlete help. And after speaking with you guys, it's really interesting that is not really what it's like being an Olympic athlete. So if you could touch on that a little bit, I think it's really important for people to understand.
Well, I can say we do have Olympic athlete money because Olympic athletes just don't really get paid. You know, I'd say I've been on the more fortunate side. You know, I'm not saying I've been a victim of poverty or bad earnings. Like I've done well for myself in my swimming career, but I've probably got like a 3 or 4 month buffer before I have to then go and find a proper job and find a future for myself. Nothing that's going to say like I'm set up for some time. And so yeah, I mean, like we kind of, you get your head down and do this craft for very, very little return. And because we're chasing the Olympic pursuit, which is, it's a big deal, like getting those medals, especially a gold medal, which I never end up achieving, but that's in the past now. Athletes do it just for that, and we kind of get tricked into this, like living this life of commitment, hard work, daily grafting. We never get time off because our body is our work, and you can't just have a weekend away and just drink or smoke or do these things, because that directly affects your job and your career. So we kind of fall into this place of complacency where we're happy to earn very little for what we do in order to pursue something that we love doing, which I can look at and be like, well, we should be grateful to be able to live that life, which is true. Like, I feel very lucky to have gone through this experience and been able to sacrifice not having to work for swimming. But then I look at it, I'm like, just the amount of hours and dedication put into it for almost. But
mind you, as you're being an Olympic athlete, a normal person would be building up their career, and normally how it would work in the world is now you have X amount of experience. So, okay, I've worked in the same industry for 10, 15 years. Oh, now I'm an executive, right?
Yeah.
Where for an Olympic athlete, it's like here, and then all of a sudden, once you stop doing sport, it's like here, because it's like you're building up your career, but quote unquote, not in real life, not in an industry, so you have to give up a lot. Yeah. You have to give up time, the most valuable currency, in order to pursue, being the best in the world.
Yeah. And they catch you because as a 20-year-old or a late teenager, early 20s, earning $30,000-$40,000 dollars a year is good. Like that's really good when your friends are at university, like in debt, like not doing well, and you're earning money. That's fantastic. But what you don't realize is 7, 8, 9 years later, when you're late 20s, early 30s, and you've got very little to show for yourself, and exactly what you said, all your peers have gone on to create companies, earn money, do this, do that, and really advance themselves in their industry. And we're looking at the end of it, it's about to, we're about to fall off the edge and not become irrelevant, because I do think the professional athlete industry has become quite saturated. There's a lot of Olympians now. There's a lot of people who have done this sport and who have made money in companies off the back of it. That's a very saturated market, which it's not easy to get into anymore. So yeah, I feel like you kind of go into your 20s as an Olympic athlete, and like, this is great, but you enter your 30s and like, it's just, was it worth it? I'm not sure. I'll never take any regret on my career, because I think being able to focus on yourself, like mind, body, and look after yourself in that way is incredibly, it's fantastic. But I do hope that this change to the enhanced games will have a crossover to the traditional swimming and Olympic events, that they can now start to maybe earn better money, and there's a bit more of a reality check that these guys aren't earning huge amounts.
Someone always has to be the pioneer.
Yeah.
And the pioneer always has the toughest road to go through. I mean, when I started Project Olympian, there was no one that had a little biohacking center inside of a full gym. No one even understood that, thought I was crazy walking through there. Yeah. So it's like being the pioneer is really difficult. But if no one's a pioneer, you never make anything great. And anything great doesn't come easy. And then, there's no inspiration that comes off of that. So I think that, what you guys are doing is very inspirational, because you'll probably deal with a lot of scrutiny, and then you'll deal with a lot of applause as well.
Yeah.
But most importantly is you just got to do it for your own reasons of what it means to you, And I think that that the foundation of you guys as the originals, you never know, that could turn into business things, sitting on boards. Like I think it's going to pave the way for many things, but someone had to take on the grit and the pioneer vision of that,
And what I'll say to that is a saying that I love, which is, rules don't make works of art make the rules. And so stepping into that kind of new industry, being the pioneer is exciting, because there's nothing to learn from. You're the one setting the standards.
If you had, what are your top 3 pieces of advice for young athletes or like a young entrepreneur kind of chasing after their own greatness?
I think it's, stay humble, stay quiet. Like, don't, you have to speak about things sometimes, but, don't overreach. Focus on what you're doing and on the actions you're taking, and let that unfold slowly. Like, things will take time always, but it kind of goes back to that battle with the ego. If you start to think you're better than you are, then you're just going to fall short and be hurt. But if you stick to what you're doing, stay very present in the moment, and focus on what you need to do. But then again, I kind of believe, cast your mind forward to the future, to where you want to be, and trace the path back from there. And then that's kind of the direction that you need to head in. But yeah, and I think most importantly, like, it's very cliche, but you have to do what you love. Like, if you're not in love with what you're doing, are you really going to put in those hours and get your head down and take those steps?
Yeah, and like in my mind, I'm so obsessed with doing the things I love that I love even the thought of not knowing what I'm going to do next, but just doing it anyway. Like, I don't. I have 1, 3, 5 year strategic plans, but I'm just excited for what I don't know that's going to be, created. And, one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Walt Disney, because everyone thought he was crazy. Then he failed, went bankrupt like 4 or 5 times, and look what he's created today, where people from, 2-year-old child to a 7-year-old, grandmother and grandfather that take their grandkids to Disneyland, and every person in between is a consumer. And I truly believe that is, it's truly inspiring to me. Anytime I need to, get any wisdom or think bigger, I always like to go to Disneyland, because I'm like, man, I'm standing in someone's full dream. It's pretty powerful, and it just, I think everyone's going to have if you're a strong visionary, then you need to align yourself with a strong integrator. Because visionary is not going to know how to integrate all those systems. So you have to build your team like that. Like, I can definitely see it. I don't know how to build it in. So I need to find the right people that understand me. And I think that probably the most important thing in life or business is just aligning yourself with the right people, of all different people. No one should ever be the same as you, because that means that it's just comfortable.
Well, I think you sort of said it there. It's direction and then action. So without those two, like, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, sometimes my direction's like the Tasmanian devil out in the desert, I just need to be guided. But thank you so much, Ben, for being on here. I truly appreciate you. I love the way that you carry yourself. Your peers and your teammates speak very highly of you. And you should be very proud of yourself. No pun intended with your last name. But I just really enjoy being around, amazing, like-minded people. And I'm very excited to see what you'll do with Enhanced Games, and most importantly, your own life, continuing on from this as well.
Perfect. I mean, appreciate everything you've done for us. And, being here is fantastic. And we feel like we're being looked after by the best hands.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean.